Hello. Okay. So yesterday we looked at the Greek city-state of what was it? Sparta. Today we're going to look at Athens. Athens. If you remember, I told you that the goddess of wisdom and like war strategy, Athena, is the patron goddess of Athens. Okay, like Athens is her baby. Okay, Athens is right here. If you look up close, it's right here, right there. So you've got Sparta here, Athens here, and then down here, of course, you have Crete, Knossos, and then to get your bearings over here, Troy. Okay, so the city-state of Athens, whereas the city-state of Sparta is really well known for its military. The city-state of Athens is really well known for its brains, its education, its government, even though they're a little bit confused about the government, but we'll get there. They're mostly known for more intellectual things, not as much military. Although the Athenians have a beast of a military, a navy. Let me show you since I'm talking about it now. Um, they have this kind of ship. It's really pretty cool. It's called look at the word, trireme. A trireme ship. It's really pretty cool. Look at it. Like obviously you have your sail, but if you look here, it kind of looks like a fish. Do you see this? Isn't that cool? It's part of the offense of the ship. As you can tell, the ship is like rowed by people. Okay, it's a bunch of rowers. But check this out. The ship is made on purpose to just plow straight into an opposing ship. Like that's what this is for. And if you look up close, it's even like serrated a little bit. Little jagged edges. Look at that. So that it just like into the side of a ship. I think they're cool looking. I just like to look at them. Anyway, but the Athenian Navy, they're pretty beastly. Sparta's really well known though for her navy. No, for her military. Oh, come on. There we go. But Athens has a pretty impressive navy. Anyway, this right here is the historical city of Athens, based on archaeological evidence, based on what is still there today, based on what people said about her. Okay, let me move my big old head so you can see part of Athens. Got this big old giant statue back here of Athena. You have a very important building here. You do see walls around. Remember, anytime you see walls, it's a defensive measure. Okay. And you notice, I hope you notice, you've got people down here. You've got some like mountains back here. This part of Athens, the Agora, is up. It's higher. They've got the high ground. That is always a defensive action. It also allows you to see out across the whole city so that of course you can like keep up with what's going on in your town or whatever, but especially a defensive issue. All right, this right here is Athens today. I think it's so great looking. I just love to look at these pictures. So move my head up here. You've got this raised part again. Okay, just like you had in this picture. What you're looking at in this picture right here is this up here. Okay, now a couple of things that I need you to notice. First of all, if you look at this building, which is a very, very, there it is, famous building in Athens, the architecture of Athenian buildings, they tend to be very proportional. okay? You have a rectangular building where everything is in proportion. You don't have like a giant, I don't know, spire sticking up. You don't have a giant anything sticking up. It all is very like geometrical and it fits. You also notice, I hope, the columns, okay? But look, the columns are in squares or rectangles, whatever, okay? They're rectangles. Look down here at this structure down here. Do you see squares or do you see arches? Look, arches. You see arches. These are all arches down here. Guys, this structure down here is not Greek. This structure down here is Roman. The Romans are going to take over Greece. Now, they like Greece. They think Greece is awesome. And so they're like, oh, we want to adopt this culture. So they totally do. But they also add their own stuff in. This right here is not a Greek structure. It is a Roman structure. So when you're looking at it, you see two very different like things, civilizations right here in this picture. You have the ancient, actually you see three. I'll get to that in a minute. But you have the ancient Greek up here with all these like rectangular, square, geometrical column buildings. And then down here, you have all of these arches that the Romans used. Look down here. I just love this picture. You also have the modern. Can you imagine like living here and like ancient Roman architecture and ancient Greek architecture is your view? Like here, what's my view? The water ditch in my backyard. It's pretty. They have like ancient, like thousands of year old stuff. It's so cool. They probably don't even care about it, but still, I think it's way cool. Something else I want you to notice. A lot of the Greek architecture tends to be this white marble that you see here. Okay, these white marble buildings. Look at the land. It's natural there. They're not bringing in like white marble from way far away. Like, look at this mountain over here. That's just what they have. So that's what they build with. Okay. Now, do you see this right here? That is not natural. Those are human, like cut. Okay. You can tell, like right here, natural rock. Up here, no. Those straight lines, human cut. Oh, heck yeah. And then again, Greek, ancient Greek up here, Roman down here, and the modern here. I think this picture is really cool. And I'm going to show you another picture from the other side so that you can kind of get the viewpoint of what you're looking at. You see this mountain here? It's like all pointy. Bloop. Yeah. Look. Same thing. You're just seeing a different side. So like in this picture, what you're seeing in the next picture is behind all of this. It's behind this. Okay. Look, behind it, totally modern stuff. Such a cool city. You have all this modern. And then back here, you have all of the ancient. I just think it's way cool, you guys. I know, I get excited over little things, but still, I think it's way cool. So, Athens. I was like, I can't change it. So, what is Athens all about? Well, I told you it's mostly intellectual and it's well known for its government. Okay. But first, let's talk society. Well, as a female, you would probably prefer to be from Sparta, not Athens. Athens is very male dominated. That word right here, you should know it from last year. Patriarchal, or you'll hear it said patriarchal. That means men are in charge. Men are in charge in Sparta too, except because so many men are gone, the women have a lot more, you could say freedom, a lot more freedom, I guess. Not freedom to do whatever they want, but just freedom where they're not controlled by, men all the time. In Athens, it's a little different. The women are the homemakers. The women don't have a lot of outside jobs like the Spartan women do. The women don't work in the shops. The women are homemakers. And there's a lot of slaves in Athens. That is actually one thing that Sparta, whenever Sparta would like go to attack other places, they would take people and sell them off as slaves. A whole lot of those slaves were sent to Athens. A ton of them. In fact, y'all, look at this. 1/3 of the entire population of Athens, they're slaves. Now, this is Greek on Greek slavery. Again, I told y'all last year, whenever we talked about like the African slave trade, that is not the first time that slave trade has happened. We've had slave trade since the beginning of time. I wish we hadn't, but we have. And you've typically had like Roman on Roman slave trade or Greek on Greek slavery, or you even did have like Mesopotamian, even though we didn't talk about that, on Mesopotamian, you had like the Babylonians enslaving the Jews. You had people, African on African slave trade. You had people, oh, I just heard a phone go off, typically enslaving their own because they conquered them or because they owed a debt. Look at Greece. Well, specifically Athens. 1/3. That's huge. That is a huge number of slaves, y'all. Think about it like this: juniors, seniors, sophomores at Midland High. That would be like if the entire sophomore class were slaves. That is a huge, ridiculous number. But it also does allow a whole lot of the Athenian men to have a lot of spare time. You have to have spare time to do what a lot of the Athenian men are going to do. So keep that in mind. Okay, hold that thought for just a little bit. Well, I guess we can go ahead and talk about it now because we're not going to talk about the philosophers today. So Athens is known for its intellectualism, its philosophy, its science, math. You don't have the ability to sit on a rock and think, to sit and think about, oh, I don't know, why the sky is blue, or to sit and come up with mathematical equations, or I don't know, you don't have the ability to do that if you have a bunch of work you have to do. The fact that so many slaves were in Athens freed up a lot of the men. They had a lot of free time. So again, that allowed them to kind of like pursue intellectual things, which is why when we start tomorrow talking about all of these just like smart ideas, you know what, I might add it in this video. I don't know. It just depends on where we're at. These guys are genius. Now, they're not all from Athens, but you have to have freedom, time freedom, to be able to study, to be able to think, to be able to come up with all this stuff. So they have a ridiculous amount of slaves, and that's not cool. But it does allow some free time for the not slaves to come up with a bunch of ideas that we still use today, like democracy. Remember what a democracy is? All people have the right to vote for representatives to lead them. We've already talked about this. You can't have all people in your city, in your kingdom, in your country, because we have a kid issue. I gave you this example last year in AP World. If I have I don't know, a 2-year-old, in a democracy, my 2-year-old gets to vote. Heck yeah. Does my 2-year-old have any clue what's happening politically? But whenever I take my 2-year-old to vote, my 2-year-old also can't read or write. So I'm going to go in with my 2-year-old and probably tell my 2-year-old what to mark or what button to push. So is it my 2-year-old's vote? Or is it really that I had a second vote? Do you see the problem with allowing kids to vote? It doesn't work, because really what's going to happen is the parents or the caretaker, whoever it is, will end up having an extra vote for those kids. That's not fair. So what do? Well, we have to not allow kids to vote. Okay, so what age do they suddenly get to vote? Well, that's the problem, isn't it? For us today, it's 18. Now, y'all, I fully understand that some of you are sitting here right now going, that's not fair. I know 18-year-olds that don't pay any attention to politics or the news or anything, and they get to vote. But me, as a 16-year-old AP smart, I don't know, GT kid, I pay attention and I want to vote, but I'm not allowed to? That's not fair. Y'all, I know. It's not like all of a sudden when you turn 18, you just suddenly, poof, care about the government. We know there's 40 and 50 and 80-year-olds that don't care. We know that. But there has to be a cutoff somewhere. I told you last year the idea with doing the year 18 is that, okay, you've graduated high school, you are off on your own now, you're doing your own thing. Maybe you'll start caring a little bit about bills. Maybe you'll start caring a little bit about taxes. I know as a high schooler 30 years ago, I didn't give a rip. I didn't even know I was supposed to. It never entered my brain to care. I still remember to this day, I was in junior high. The early 1990s, my brother comes running outside. I was outside. And he's like, the Iraqi war started. It's on TV. Come in and watch. And I was like, why do I care? That's all the way across the world. Now, of course, today I'm like, oh, you didn't go watch it? Stupid. I know, that's stupid. But I was in junior high, man. I didn't care. The idea is that when you're younger, you just don't know or you don't care. And at some point, you do. So we arbitrarily make a year 18. Could it be 16? Sure. Could it be 40? Sure. But there has to be a cutoff. So in our country, kids can't vote until they're 18. Okay, listen. I've already mentioned this, but the minute you cut out a group of people and say, oh, sorry, you can't vote, even if it seems fair, like they're kids, it's really not a democracy. We still call it that because it's the idea of democratic rule, the idea that people get to vote. But it's not really all people get to vote. That's a republic. A republic is when the majority, just pulled my hair, a big, huge chunk of people get to vote. And only a small group of people don't get to vote. Athens comes up with this idea of democracy. People get to vote, and they're darn proud of it. We are a democracy. What are you, Sparta? An oligarchy? Ha ha ha. We are a democracy. We're amazing. But they're not even a democracy. They're a republic. There's stuff happening in the hall. Sorry. But it's like they don't ever call themselves that. They will always refer to themselves as a democracy. I mean, don't we? Think about it. Don't we as Americans say that we're a democracy? Technically, we're a democratic republic. And again, think about the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the democracy for which it stands. No, we don't say that. We say republic. Okay, I'm having issues. There's a bug. So, the way that the Athenians do it is they have this group of people, kind of like the Spartans have the Council of Elders. They have the Council of 500. Okay, Council of 500. These are men who can make the laws. They're voted in, and they meet as this council and they make the laws. Sounds like our Congress. Sounds like Parliament, right? Except there's only certain men who can be voted in to the Council of Elders. You have to be a landowner. You have to be a citizen, which means all of those third of the population of slaves that are male, nope, not them. But they're Greek. Doesn't matter. They're from another place in Greece. Doesn't matter. They don't get to vote. Mm-mm. And of course, you see adult. I mean, I feel like that should just kind of go like without even saying adults. Okay. But yeah, you had to own land. So that cuts out all of your like peasant and middle class. So really, there's only a small number of men who are voting for members to be part of the Council of 500. And then there's a smaller number of men who are actually in the Council of 500, and they all rule together. But you are still voting for these men. It feels like the Spartan government and the Athenian government are a lot alike. You have the Council of Elders, you have the Council of 500. True, except remember, the Council of Elders in Sparta, it's not voted on. If you're over 30 and you're out of the military and you just want to be in it and your nobility, you just go and you're part of it. There's no voting happening. You just are part of it because you're special and you're rich and you're noble. That's oligarchy. In this situation though, people are voting for like representatives to be part of the Council of 500. So it's a very like slim difference. I know, but it is a difference. Okay. That being said, we have this big war, which we're not going to go into. If you want to look it up yourself. It's called the Peloponnesian War. I don't know if it might be one of your documents, but it's this big war, and it's actually Sparta and Athens butting heads. After the war, and after the Persian Wars, and after all of these wars, we have a dude. Oh, I couldn't move my head. Here he is. Over here. This guy right here. His name is Pericles. When you see a Greek name, or really anything with an ES at the end, it's an ease sound. His name is not Pericles, which is how we like would just pronounce it in like American English. Pericles. It'll be Socrates. It'll be Eratosthenes. Okay. Whenever you see an ES on the end, ease is the way you say it. So again, this guy's name, Pericles. Okay. And again, here he is. Are you starting to notice something about their art, their statues also? Hmm. Their statues, it's that same white marble. Yep. Okay. So anyway, this right here, Pericles. Okay. Pericles takes over. Oops. There we go. He's a member of the Council of 500 and all that. And he takes over, not as like a king, just as like the leader of the Council of 500. Okay. Um, he decides to change the government a little bit. See, after the Persian Wars ended, it's almost kind of like World War One. After World War One, which you should know from last year, women got some respect. The ladies, like, they held their own in World War One, working in those factories, taking care of business at home, building airplanes for the men. I mean, they were little beasts. And even in World War Two. But it kind of opened people's eyes to like, wow, women can do stuff. Thanks, guys. But the same kind of thing kind of happens, okay, after the Persian Wars. You have a whole bunch of like, first of all, people who have died. So our Council of 500 numbers like wrecked. Second of all, though, you have all of these people who like did really great things during the Persian Wars, but they're peasants. They had really great ideas and they wanted to be a part of things, but they're peasants. Well, Pericles is like, no, we need to let them have a say. So Pericles sets up something. It's a really interesting idea. We call it a direct democracy, which basically means we're cutting out the idea of voting in representatives. If you want to be part of the government and you're male, you just go. You just show up and you get to help make laws. Doesn't that sound like an oligarchy? What? Y'all, all of these government forms are like really truly such thin lines in between all of them, okay? But there is a difference between this and an oligarchy. It's not just nobles. It's also peasants. You guys over there. Oh, I'm pointing at the chairs and you can't even see it. But you guys over there, those peasants, they can be part of it if they want and if they know about it. Dun, dun, dun. Pericles wants more people to get involved in the government. Do other people? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what people wanted. But historically speaking, what do most nobles want? To give political control over to peasants or to hold on to it? See, the problem is, even in Athens, which is really focused on like education and intellectualism and stuff, you still have a ton of people, they can't read and write. They're peasants. They don't know. Nobody's ever taught them. They don't even know that they can go to the meetings. A lot of them don't know when the meetings are. A lot of them, even if they go to the meetings, it's like me listening to a calculus class. Man, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't understand all these words. I don't understand. So a lot of people would go and like try to participate, but they don't even know what's happening. So it's a great idea. Let anybody who's of age and who's male participate if they want. It just doesn't work as well as like it looks on paper. Okay. Because again, you're still going to end up with the majority of the people going to these meetings being the nobles and the middle class. You're going to have very few peasants. Some, of course, but very few. And again, if there's any part of like reading and writing involved, I mean, people are going to have to read stuff to them. And I don't know. Would that get annoying after a while? I mean, I don't know. So think about it. Just know that the direct democracy, it's a great, beautiful, wonderful idea, but it doesn't work as flawlessly as Pericles wanted. Okay. Now, Pericles is like hardcore, again, like pro education, pro intellect. He wants to push knowledge coming from Athens. And the knowledge coming from Athens, like there's something in the water, man. These guys are brilliant. Okay, there's a couple of female philosophers too, but these people are brilliant. And if you remember, a lot of the reason is because of this right here. Right here. There were so many slaves in Athens. Again, a lot of the men's like time was open. They had so much, I don't know why I did this with time. It really was their time. I wasn't being sarcastic or anything. I don't know, erase that. So anyway, a lot of the men's time was for what? I don't know. I don't have any work to do. I don't have any, I don't know, wood I have to chop. I don't have to clean the house. I don't have to, I don't know, I'm not a guy. I don't know what guys do. Make something with my tools. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So what do? Well, a whole lot of them would come right here and hang out. Look at this. There's not like a marketplace there, although there is a marketplace up there. Okay. But you just see a bunch of dudes hanging out. Doing what? Talking. Sharing ideas. Now, this I am going to use quotes for teaching. And I use quotes there because we do refer to some of these early philosophers as teachers. And they absolutely were. However, it's not going to be the kind of teacher like you think about. Sorry, I just got a soccer update. If you care, Cristiano Ronaldo is going to stay in Saudi Arabia. I don't care. Ugh. But anyway, they aren't going to be like teachers the way you think of teachers. Okay. They are teachers though, just in a different way. And that's, I can't move this page, is where we're going to start with all these people. Look at all these people. Woo-wee. Tomorrow. So, auf Wiedersehen.